All right, what are we doing today?
Unpolished. This is on dating,
Uh,
which I haven't done in a while.
I know. I hate this topic. I really do. Because I think back of my dating was not, it was not great. I mean, it was great.
Right.
I just wouldn't advise anyone to
relive
do
it.
the way I did it.
Right.
So what I have to do is think through how I did it and then
Uh-huh.
advise them to do the exact opposite. All right. What are some do's and don'ts? Do's and don'ts.
For men, young and old,
Oh, man.
what are some dating do's and don'ts?
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
You want to start? All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Unpolished Dating.
I
Season
think
1.
You can use your normal voice.
Oh.
Doesn't have to be. You're not a radio.
Season
personality.
1, Episode 2, the do's and don'ts. Yeah. All right. Do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts. For men dating. Do's and don'ts. Huh. I can come up with a lot of don'ts just thinking through what I did. You don't want to do that. What do you do? What do you do? Dating. All right. Number 1, get married as fast as you can. That way you don't have to date anymore. Well, I mean, you date your spouse, but you don't have to be that. Ooh, I hated dating. I just didn't like. I was not a good date guy. I was a good friend guy. I was a good boyfriend guy. But I wasn't good with, let me call you, let me ask you out, let me pick you up, let's go to a restaurant. I just didn't like that scene. Just didn't like it. I liked having a girlfriend. All right, it's Friday night. Let's go. We're gonna go do something, and then we would go do. And even if it was to a restaurant, I like to get real. I wanted to get past what I called the dating scene, and into the relationship. The boy. I don't know. I don't know if that seems weird or not, but I was not a good. I was good at being a boyfriend. I was not good at calling someone and say, "Would you like to go out on a date?" Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're past that. When you're in high school, a part that's hard in dating is just affording it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not making money, but you're expected to take them out to a restaurant, to a movie, and pay for it, and buy Christmas gifts and Valentine's stuff. And I don't know. I just didn't have a lot of money to do.
Yeah.
But I did it. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I did it too. Did it too.
Here's one thing that I told my kids is first of all, date.
Yeah.
Date.
Yeah.
Get out there, meet new people, meet other people, because one of the things you're doing is you are piecing together the kind of woman that you want to one day marry.
Yeah.
So like throughout high school and throughout college, I had the girlfriends, no longer than 5 months at a time. That's not the advice I'm giving. That's just for me. That's how it turned out.
It took him about 5 months to either wear on you or for you to wear on them. Yeah.
Yeah, but throughout dating, you're finding this is the personality that I like. This is who I need to cheer me on, or bring me out of my shell, or this is the look that I like, or this is the family that you're all piecing together through everybody you date, something you like about them, and then the time's going to come whenever that person will show up in college or after college or whenever, and you're gonna think, wow, you're the whole package.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, that's good advice. My parents taught me, I think, that you should only date people that you would be willing to marry. And when I look back, that's what at least at some point, that's what I did. I dated nice girls who I liked and could have married any of them and married the right one, but I was always really compatible with who I was with. They were great. They were all great people. Just, God knew the right one, and so he allowed that to happen.
Yeah. By the way, I'm Keith Luttrell.
Oh, yeah.
And go ahead and
Introduce yourself. No,
I'm
go ahead.
Keith Luttrell, co-pastor here at
Yeah.
Christ Church.
Good. Very good
Yes.
introduction. And I'm not Keith Luttrell. So there you go.
There you go.
I'm Greg Beecham, and I'm co-pastor too. And here we are talking about dating.
Yeah, another thing too that I thought of that I told my kids, but I don't know why, really. But I was always told to date one grade up, your grade, one grade down.
So you were around the same age as
Mm-hmm.
the person you were dating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
I guess it's good. I've got friends that are, couple friends that are like 5 years apart, and they've turned out okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even a good piece of advice, but that was always kind of a.
Yeah, well, the good thing about that though is that you've got peer friends that you can also be with during that dating time, right? So if you're close enough in age, then you're hanging out with this group of people and you know them, or you know their friends, or you know. I think there's a camaraderie there that allows for a little less tension if you're able to do most of what you do in a group of friends that. You know, that are together. We did that. We had girlfriends that we knew in college that we would be together, hang out together, and all of our friends were kind of together, so that was easy enough.
Oh.
I think that was good. Friendship to me was the main. It was the main thing when I look back at everybody I dated, I was always their friend, or we became friends really fast. If we weren't compatible as friends, there were a couple of girls that I took out on dates, but I wasn't their friend and didn't want to be their friend, and they didn't want me to be their friend. So it just didn't. I didn't force romance. I worked on friendship first, and with Liz, she and I have known each other since 7th grade and have been great friends since then. We were great friends in middle school, better friends in high school, even better friends in college before we ever dated. And so it was really easy to date her because we were already best friends and still are. So that was really important.
Yeah, it's important to want to hang out with that person you marry.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is, because now here we are 35 years later, and I not only love her, but I still like her.
Yeah.
I'd just soon be with her than anybody else on the planet. I just enjoy hanging out with her. We're still friends like that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people our age who've been married a long time, and they love their wife, they just don't like their wife. And that is sad. I never wanted to get in that spot.
Yeah, I know with our kids too, the spiritual compatibility I think is just huge.
Yeah.
Because what it's going to do is you may really like somebody, and then you get married, but you're not spiritually compatible, and that in every case I've seen it, it's going to drive you nuts.
Yeah.
If you're the only one that's going to church, or if you think one day they'll give their life to Christ, maybe you don't know that, and so. With one of our children, I had to say, this is a deal breaker, because I did not want them to be in a long-term marriage relationship, and that spiritual compatibility is just not there.
Yeah, it's really important because you've got mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, and if you take a quarter of that out and say we are not compatible in 1/4 of this thing that makes up who we are, you've only got a 75% chance of being compatible. And the other three, the mental, emotional, and physical, come in and out. They flow in and out. Well, if you don't have the spiritual and you're flowing out of, you're not feeling it emotionally, which happens, then there's half of my being that is not connected with that person. And so I can have a mental connection and a physical connection, but no emotional connection or spiritual. That's tough.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough.
You got to have that conversation before you get to, I think, the I love you stage. You've got to say, hey, where are you on this?
Yeah.
Because before you get to the falling in love stage, that conversation needs to be had. You need to know where they're going, and then you might have to make a tough decision of, hey, this is really important to me. It's the number one thing that's important to me, and I can't go on in this relationship if that's not going to be important to you.
Yeah. So it says do's and don'ts. The main don't that I taught our kids that Liz and I didn't do, it's the biggest don't, I think, is don't move in with each other and not get married. Get married before you live together.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's important. I think there's a respect issue there, particularly on the man's side. I think there's a respect issue there that says, I respect you enough to make a long-term, lifelong commitment to you. And if not, what I'm really saying is, I respect you enough to, I respect you just enough to sleep with you, but not enough to make a commitment to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a deal breaker. I mean, you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it because it's morally wrong, though I think it is. But I just think relationally, I've heard guys say, "Well, you wouldn't drive a car without, you wouldn't buy a car without test driving it first, right?" And I just want to say, she's not a car. She's a human being, and she deserves your respect. She deserves your trust, and she deserves the commitment from you. If you're going to engage in this really deep kind of relationship, make a commitment to the relationship rather than just, some guy says, well, we're married in our heart. No, you're married in your pants. Let's just be real about this. And a lot of people say, yeah, but we can't afford to live. So, okay, great. If you can't afford to live separate, get married. And if you say, well, I don't know if I want to marry her, then break up. But the answer isn't, we can't afford to get married, and I'm not sure, so we're going to move in together and find out, because it's just not going to work. It can work. I'm sure it can work. But I think the odds of it working are extremely low, and the reason is because one or the other is saying, I'm not willing to make a commitment to you. And I just think that's a problem.
Yeah, 50% of all marriages in divorce. In fact, it's a little above that. But the statistic goes up even more if you live together before you're married.
Yeah.
So marriage is a risk anyway, and now we're going to add the possibility of getting divorced is even greater if I live together, and so we're going to live together. That doesn't make sense. And the whole affordability thing, I hear that one a lot from couples, and who we just can't afford to live separately, and it's a financial decision. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
I know you can. I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So-
did too. And we couldn't afford it. We were both, you and I mean, we knew each other back then. We were dirt poor.
Yes.
And we just didn't remember we lived in that little house. We had
Mhm.
we got another roommate because we couldn't afford the house with the two of us. So we got a third. And we slept on the couch, and it was horrible.
Mm.
But we had to do it. My subsequent wife, Liz, she lived with her parents,
Mhm.
and then we got married, and it was fine. We couldn't afford being married, much less. I mean, we just couldn't afford. We didn't have any money, and it was fine. We scraped it out. We found a way, and it was all fine.
I don't know how. We won't jump deep into this at all, but you need to figure out. You need to know what your boundaries are sexually,
Yeah,
and draw a line in the sand and stick to it.
yeah, yeah. And you really ought to communicate that, whether you're a man or a woman. But for men especially, you really ought to communicate that right up front, and then stick with it. You ought to, right up front, one of the first discussions you should have is, here's the line that I'm drawing. Here's why I'm drawing that line. What I found is that 9 out of 10 women will say, wow, I really respect that you've got a level that you've thought through, and you have a level of fortitude. You know who you are, you know why you are, and you know what you're going to do. They like that. They respect that. 9 out of 10 women. And the one that doesn't isn't one that you need to be with because she doesn't respect you when you've drawn a line in the sand. It's important. It's really important.
Yeah. And if you don't know what that line is or where that line is, seek godly counsel. And from
What,
Greg.
are you afraid to say it?
No.
Yeah, well, if you're not married, keep your hands to yourself. How about that? And keep your clothes on and your hands to yourself. That's the best counsel.
Yeah.
And we can go into what and why that is, but that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Just draw that line, and you say, "Wow, that's regressive, and that's so culturally irrelevant, and all that." Yeah, it's fine. I'm just telling you, it's the right thing to do, and you will always be happy.
It is. My mom told me stay vertical and keep your pants zipped.
Yeah, that's good.
So keep your pants zipped.
Yeah.
That's a do. Keep your pants zipped. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a do.
Yeah.
Don't unzip your pants. That's a don't. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. What advice would you give Christian men? Christian men. Okay. We've just gone over the.
I know.
All right.
Everything I just said.
Yeah. Sexually, we're going to make a commitment to ourselves and to the person that we're dating, and we're going to stick by that commitment. I think the commitment should be keep your hands to yourself and keep your zipper zipped and keep her clothes on, right? And just stick to it. Because if you can't stick to that, okay, if you can't stick to that, then are you going to be able to stick to financial integrity when you get married? Are you going to be able to stick to biblical integrity when you get married? Are you going to always tell the truth when you get married? Are you going to be a one-woman man when you get married if you can't control yourself before? And I don't know if there are any women who listen to this, but I'll tell them, if he can't control himself before he gets married, he's going to have a hard time controlling himself after he gets married. And guys, dating is practice for marriage. And so you've got to practice on the person that you subsequently are going to marry, because someday there's going to be someone else out there. And you've got to know that you can say no when it's time to say no. And there will be times when you just have to say, I'm drawing this line and I'm not going to cross it.
Yeah, and sometimes the woman's the aggressor, and so you're in a dating relationship. That's why the communication of your godly expectations in the area of intimacy is so huge, to let them know, here's what I want. And so if they begin to be aggressive, then you're drawing the line. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody when you pull her hand back, or just push away, or take a walk outside, whatever that is. There won't be any surprises there. And I know somebody right now, they're in a dating relationship, and this person told the other person, I just want you to know I'm saving myself for marriage, and so I don't even want to go near there. And the other person was very respectful and respected that person so much of letting them know. So that communication's huge.
Yeah, it is. I've never, we sit here and we talk about how we would advise other people. And yet, I think back on my past, and I haven't had the purest past. I've been pretty open about that. And I have never once regretted doing the right thing, ever. And I have often regretted doing the wrong thing. And that's just, I want to live a life of no regrets. And I can't, except that through the grace of God, I don't have to live in regret. I just know I'm always happier when I do the right thing. Always, 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Always.
And I know in dating, physically, it's hard to put anything in reverse.
Yeah, that's good.
However far you go, I was never able to put things in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. So to change gears a little bit, I think there's certain aspects that I see that are problems when people get married. Sex is one of those. Money is one of those. I think that the closer you get to marriage in a dating relationship, the more you ought to talk about money, the more you need to talk about the future of where you are financially. It's really important because people tend to come into the marriage based on the way their parents dealt with money. Mm-hmm. So if their parents were really strict and were good savers and just didn't spend any frivolous money on anything, that's one side. And then someone else comes into the marriage and their parents weren't very disciplined with that, or they had a lot of money so they didn't really have to think about it, and that can cause a lot of conflict. Mm-hmm. And the more you can communicate with, here's how I feel about it, here's who I want to be, here's why I want to be that way, I think that communication is huge, and just practicing observing each other and practicing what that is really important. Try to get the money thing figured out before you ask her to marry you. Because if she's a big spender and you're a big saver, there's going to be conflict.
Yeah.
You may need to know it before. And if she's a big saver and you're a big spender, that's a problem.
Yeah, and another thing for Christian men, dating advice, you need to position yourself in places where you will find the kind of wife you want to find. So, where we were in college, or high school and college, we were at a Christian university, and many times there are a lot of people that marry somebody that they meet in college. But what if you get out of college and you're still single? There are ways to still meet Christian women. You can meet them at church, or that'd be the best. What I advise, Christian men to do is to surround yourself with a bunch of Christian people where you can hopefully mingle with other Christian women. If it's not that, then where are you going to meet other people? Well, I guess at a bar or at a workout gym, I guess. But I think your best possible case scenario would be to position yourself where you can be around other Christian women to date.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so what are some things a man should be looking for when trying to find a wife? The easiest one that is also the most cliche, and it's the one that everybody would know, but it's also important, is someone who is attractive to you and that you find attractive. And that doesn't mean that she or he has to be a beauty. If I'm a Christian man and I'm looking for a woman, I'm going to find someone who is attractive. I don't have to find the beauty queen, right? I'm not even looking for that. Let's see, what the old song say? If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. Now, I married a pretty woman, but you got to be careful, because the prettier they get, the higher the maintenance. However, and ladies, if you're listening to this, I'm not being stereotypical. I guess I am. Sorry about that. Okay, but you want to find someone that you're attracted to.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. And that was easy enough. That was easy enough. But it's got to go there. From there,
you have to be physically attracted to your spouse.
Yeah, you do. You do.
And so it makes sense that in dating, you're going to try to find somebody that's physically attractive. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. So then the next stage is, she's physically attractive. Are we emotionally compatible? Is it easy for her to talk to, or is it not? If she's easy to talk to, okay, that one is bigger to me than the physical attraction, or at least equal to it. Mm-hmm. Because there are a lot of beautiful women that I couldn't talk to for 30 seconds. I just couldn't. We're just not. And by the way, that's true for. That's not because there's something wrong with the woman. The issue is me, not them. Right. I'm not. You're really good at having a conversation with people. You can talk to people for an hour. I can't. And I don't want to have to work at it that hard.
No.
So I was real quick to, let's talk, and if this is too hard, I'm not asking you out. There was a girl that I asked out. She was really pretty. And I asked her out, and we went out on one date. And driving her home, I'm sure she thought it too. But driving her home, I thought, I'm never calling her again. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't talk to her.
I think an hour is too long. I think I could go 20 minutes maybe in talking to somebody. 30.
No, you're really
40.
good. You're good at asking questions.
What?
You're really good at asking. Yeah, I know. You're really good at that.
I think I wanted somebody that was fun. I had fun with. I could be at my mom and dad's house with them and have fun. I could go out and have fun. That was just an important thing for me. One of the things that I thought about with this question, what you look for in trying to find a wife, is to know thyself, which means I know what I need. And knowing me, I knew I needed a cheerleader to pick me up or pour into me or make me feel better about myself than I currently did, and literally married a cheerleader. And Betsy, she does that a lot. And then the other piece to that too is, I think you've got to look at their family, and this isn't the whole thing, because no family's perfect. A lot of dysfunction in families, but I wanted to meet Betsy's family, and I knew you, and I wanted to meet the mom and dad and Katie, the sister, because dysfunction or not, or high dysfunction versus small dysfunction, when you marry somebody, you do marry their dysfunction.
Yeah.
Whatever level that is. And so that family is important. So you've got to figure out, what is my tolerance level, or what can be my input into this new family that I have now, because you do spend Christmases and Thanksgivings and birthdays and kids' birthdays and all that you spend together. So you need to somewhat, I think, like their family.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. I was so well, and then there you talked earlier about spiritual compatibility, and there were some girls that I dated that I don't know that I would have married, because I didn't even know them spiritually. I knew them at an attraction level. I knew them at an emotional level. I knew them in a physical level. I did not know them in a spiritual level. And one of the things that I think drew me ultimately to Liz was that I knew her on we were spiritually compatible from the day we said, hey, let's start going out. We already knew each other, and I knew she was attractive, and we were already friends, and all that was great. But real fast, we were on a spiritual plane that was unique, and that's what ultimately drew me to her, and it's what draws me to her today. She's one of the most spiritual ladies I know, and she doesn't come across. People who know her may not even say that. Most do, because she just has that air of gentle fortitude. But we were spiritually connected from the time we started dating, and I thought I could marry her tomorrow, and would have probably, except I had to prove to her that I was okay and marriageable. So you know what I did? I bait and switched her. She loved to run. She was a big runner in high school, big runner in college. She subsequently, after we got married, ran like 7 marathons. She loves to run. So I started running with her. And I ran until we got married. And then I hurt my knee or something. Plantar fasciitis, or hurt a toe, or got a blister or something. I hate running. I hated it. Hated it then. But I had to get the girl. So I bait and switched her with the whole running thing. I did. It was awesome. She fell for it. Yes.
Yeah, I think we all know relationships that aren't on the same page, and how frustrating that is. And what I love about Betsy, and the reason why I wanted to pursue that relationship, was we were on the same page. I mean, spiritually, and our family values, and Ministry wife, she wanted to be a preacher's wife, which is a rare person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was more on the same page with her than anybody else I'd ever been around. And it's not that we're always on the same page, but man, when you find somebody like that, and I think that's what you were talking about when you said just that you join together spiritually and emotionally and relationally and physically and all that stuff. Man, when you find that same page woman, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So, what are some things a man should be looking for when trying to find a wife? All right, let me boil it down. Number one, someone who is physically compatible and with you and you to her. Number two, someone who is emotionally compatible. You just can be friends and can enjoy each other, have fun with each other, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Someone who is intellectually compatible, right? We can have big conversations about money or sex or time or Cicero or whatever else that you want to talk about. And then most importantly, someone who is spiritually compatible with you, someone who believes in prayer, believes in Scripture, believes most in God and His gospel and the fact that we are two flawed beings that are about to marry each other. And we're going to continue to be flawed beings. Mm-hmm. I'm not marrying the perfect woman, and she sure didn't marry the perfect man. We are flawed beings who are made righteous because of the grace of Jesus Christ. And when I know that about her, I can overlook some of the flaws because I don't expect her to be perfect.
Yeah.
And she, thankfully, has overlooked a lot of mine.
Yep.
Because she's never had high expectations.
I would never, I tell couples this a lot, don't ever enter into a marriage relationship thinking that they are going to change. Because more than likely, they're really not going to change all that much.
Yeah.
But I still get defensive, and I always have. And Betsy gets offensive, and always has.
Yeah.
And that's just, so you can't go into it thinking, well, maybe he'll change, or maybe she'll, you're marrying the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life. They may change for the better, may change for the worse, but this is who they are, and so you need to be happy with that.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Just get married. Get married, stay married for life, and then you don't have to date anymore, and it's awesome. First date, say, I'm really wanting to get married. I had someone who said that.
No way.
Yeah, first date.
No
first date.
way.
I'm here looking for a husband. That's what I'm doing. So I'm glad that we're going out because you may be someone that I'm willing to marry, and that's why I'm dating you. That's what she said first date.
Thank you for letting me know. Uh-huh. This will be our last date.
It's our last date. Yeah, it was. All right. Hey, good job today.
I thought you did a really good job.
It was okay. Not my favorite.
You brought up my game, though, because you were giving such good stuff. I had to think, man, I'm going to have to dig in and find some more stuff.
You did. You dug deep.
I dug deep. I had to.
I know.
Raised the bar again so high.
Yeah. So next time, we're going to ask the hardest question, and that is, did Adam and Eve have a belly button? Tricky, I know.
I doubt it. I haven't seen pictures, but I doubt it.
You haven't seen pictures?
No. I think Cain did.
Well, Cain, of course they did. They had umbilical cords, but Adam and Eve wouldn't have needed that. So, I don't know. Piercing, you think? Probably not.
Like, how old do you think they were? Did God create them as
like one day?
Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
Like, were they 27?
Probably, early 20s, I would think. Yeah,
20.
Early 20s. They weren't late. Look, if they're our age, the serpent comes. They're our age. You're walking around. You're naked in the garden. The serpent comes by, and you know what you say to him? You say like, "Yeah, go away. We're tired. We're sleepy. Go away." But when you're 20, you're like, "Hey, okay, let's go. Oh, there's the next thing in the apple. Yeah, eat one of these." And the guy's going, "Oh, okay, I'll do whatever you say because I like looking at you naked."
Yeah, that makes sense. They weren't 13.
They weren't 13.
And they weren't 53.
They weren't 53.
I bet
20?
22.
22.
21's a good age.
I would say, at least for me, from the age of 19 to 22, 23, that's when I was at my absolute dumbest.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing that that's the age they were.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Did they date?
Did they date?
Did they date each other? Like, did they, like, I got to get to know you?
No,
You know, we're the only
no.
two people here
No, they were doing
from the
deed.
get-go.
Yes, absolutely. They were married like the first day.
Who married him?
God did. Said, be fruitful and multiply. They said, I can do that. So they got with it.
All right.
Yeah.
I like them.
Totally naked, running around. I bet they did it 10 times a day.
Oh, no.
They were totally naked. At 20, you could do it 10 times a day. Here's the problem. I'm going to ask God about this someday. When you're 20, you could do it 10 times a day because it only lasts like a minute, right? When you're our age, it lasts like an hour, and you wish it lasted a minute. There's just something completely backwards about it. That's what I'm going to, like now, I wish it would last a minute, and then it'd be fine. And then at that age, you want it to last an hour.
Mm.
And it didn't. It lasted about a minute. That's mine.
24. I bet they were 24.
24. I bet you're right. How old were you when you got married?
I was 23.
23.
Yeah, 23.
I was 24. I'll bet that's right. I bet they were 21. 20. Okay, we're gone.